Remember the 10-minute recipes that once lived only in old American cookbooks. These were not shortcuts born from laziness, but solutions shaped by busy kitchens, tight budgets, and hungry families waiting at the table. In the early and mid-20th century, speed mattered. A meal had to be warm, filling, and ready before the day slipped away. These dishes fed schoolchildren, factory workers, and tired parents without fuss or waste. Today, many of these recipes have vanished from memory. In this video, you will rediscover 10 forgotten 10-minute recipes that carried real comfort, ingenuity, and everyday American life. Before potato chips and packaged dips, quick snacks looked very different. Cream cheese and olive sandwiches were a quiet staple in American kitchens from the 1940s through the 1970s. They appeared in church cookbooks, homemaking magazines, and party pamphlets meant for busy hosts. The recipe was simple and dependable. Soft white bread was spread thick with cream cheese, then topped with neatly sliced green olives. The flavor felt grown up, salty, and slightly sharp. These sandwiches were often cut into triangles, pinwheels, or small squares and served at bridge clubs, afternoon visits, and Sunday gatherings. They required no heat, no cooking skill, and no waiting. In many homes, they filled the gap between meals, offering something satisfying before supper was ready. Olives were considered refined, and cream cheese was a modern convenience, making this dish feel special without effort. Variations existed, but the heart of the recipe never changed. A sprinkle of paprika or chopped parsley was enough to dress it up. Today, this sandwich may seem unusual, but it represented speed with intention. It was quick food with manners, designed to welcome guests and calm hunger in minutes. For families, it balanced thrift, taste, hospitality, and routine daily life. By the 1920s and 1930s, American kitchens were places of quiet urgency. Many households didn't have the luxury of time, fuel, or full pantries, so recipes had to move fast and waste nothing. One such dish was creamed eggs on toast, a meal that appeared again and again in old community cookbooks and women's magazines. It was designed for mornings when children needed feeding and adults needed to be out the door within minutes. Hard-boiled eggs were chopped, folded into a simple white sauce made from milk, flour, and butter, then poured over toasted bread. No seasoning beyond salt and pepper. No garnish. The goal wasn't beauty. It was warmth, speed, and enough protein to get through the day. This recipe mattered because eggs were affordable and widely available even during lean years. Bread stretched the dish further, turning a handful of ingredients into a full plate. In many homes, this wasn't just breakfast. It was supper. It was comfort after a long shift. It was proof that a meal didn't need complexity to feel complete. Today, creamed eggs on toast has nearly vanished, replaced by quicker conveniences. But in its time, this 10-minute recipe carried families through some of the busiest and hardest decades in American life. Long before soup came from cans stacked in grocery aisles, tomato soup was often made quickly and simply at home. By the 1910s through the 1940s, many American cookbooks included fast versions meant for hurried lunches or light suppers. One of the most common pairings was tomato soup served with plain saltine crackers. It was a meal built for speed, comfort, and reliability. The soup usually began with canned or bottled tomatoes, simmered briefly with water or milk, a pinch of salt, and sometimes a small knob of butter. There were no long cooking times and no elaborate seasonings. The goal was warmth, not complexity. Within minutes, the soup was ready to be poured and served. Saltines mattered just as much as the soup itself. They were inexpensive, shelf-stable, and found in nearly every pantry. Crushed into the bowl or eaten alongside, they added body and made the meal feel more complete. For children home from school, the sick, or adults needing something quick before evening work, this dish filled a real need. Tomato soup and saltines were not meant to impress. They were meant to soothe, steady, and satisfy. In just 10 minutes, they delivered familiarity, nourishment, and a quiet sense of care that defined everyday American cooking. Creamed chipped beef on toast. Creamed chipped beef was once a dependable 10-minute meal found in early 20th century American cookbooks. It relied on dried, salted beef that could be stored without refrigeration, making it common in working households and military kitchens. The beef was briefly soaked to remove excess salt, then cut into fine strips. A simple white sauce followed, made from butter, flour, and milk stirred over steady heat. The beef was folded in at the end, warming just long enough to soften without losing texture. This dish appeared frequently in Depression-era manuals because it used small portions of meat to feed several people. Toast served as the base, adding bulk and turning a modest sauce into a filling meal. The recipe required little preparation and no special equipment, which is why it was often labeled as a quick supper or late lunch. Families valued creamed chipped beef for its reliability. It was warm, predictable, and ready in minutes. In many homes, it became a weekday staple that filled plates without straining budgets. Old cookbooks treated it as practical knowledge, not comfort food, yet it quietly sustained generations during uncertain times. Eggs in mustard sauce. Eggs in mustard sauce appeared in late 19th century American cookbooks as a fast household supper. It relied on pantry staples that were already kept on hand. Hard-cooked eggs were peeled and sliced while a thin sauce was prepared in a small pan. Butter and flour formed the base, followed by milk stirred until smooth. Dry mustard was added for sharpness and warmth. The eggs were gently placed into the sauce and heated for only a few minutes. This recipe reflected an era when eggs were affordable and widely available. It provided protein without requiring meat, which made it useful during periods of high prices or shortages. The sauce was meant to be light, not heavy, coating the eggs rather than drowning them. It was usually served with plain bread or toast to keep the meal simple. Old cookbooks describe this dish as quick, nourishing, and economical. It could be prepared in less than 10 minutes once the eggs were cooked. For many families, it offered variety without complication. It showed how simple techniques could turn ordinary ingredients into a complete and satisfying meal. Such meals preserve time, fuel, and effort while maintaining dignity at the table daily routines. Sardines on hot toast. Sardines on hot toast was a common 10-minute recipe found in early 20th century American cookbooks. It relied on tin sardines packed in oil, a shelf-stable food kept for emergencies and quick meals. The fish was gently warmed in a small pan, often with a little of its own oil. Some recipes called for a light mash with a fork, while others left the sardines whole to preserve texture. Hot toast formed the base, chosen for its speed and availability. The warmed sardines were spread directly over the bread and seasoned simply with salt or pepper. No garnish was required. The goal was nourishment, not presentation. This dish appeared frequently in manuals written for boarding houses, clerks, and single working men who needed food without delay. Cookbooks praised sardines for their strength and economy. They provided protein and fat in a time when fresh fish was not always accessible. Sardines on toast required no planning and little fuel, making it ideal for late evenings or hurried midday meals. Though modest, it represented practical knowledge passed quietly through generations. It showed how preserved foods could be used quickly without waste. In old kitchens, this dish was not a shortcut. It was a solution shaped by routine and necessity. Creamed tuna on crackers. Creamed tuna on crackers was a mid-century favorite for a quick snack or light lunch. Canned tuna, a pantry staple during the 1940s and 1950s, was mixed with mayonnaise, a pinch of salt, and occasionally a little chopped onion or celery for texture. The mixture was stirred until smooth, forming a creamy, spreadable consistency. Saltine crackers or thin toast rounds were arranged on a plate, and the creamed tuna was carefully spooned over each one. Some homemakers added a dusting of paprika or a tiny sprig of parsley for presentation. It could be eaten immediately or left to chill briefly in the refrigerator, making it convenient for last-minute guests or a family snack. Cookbooks from the era praised this dish for speed, affordability, and adaptability. It required no cooking beyond opening the can and mixing the ingredients. The crackers provided crunch while the tuna delivered protein, making a small plate feel complete. Creamed tuna on crackers exemplified the mid-century approach to fast meals, practical, economical, and nourishing. It remained popular in home kitchens, church socials, and school lunches because it satisfied quickly without sacrificing taste or effort. Deviled egg salad sandwiches. Deviled egg salad sandwiches were a staple of mid-century quick meals, appearing in cookbooks and homemaker magazines from the 1940s through the 1960s. Hard-boiled eggs were chopped finely and combined with mayonnaise, mustard, a pinch of salt, and occasionally a dash of paprika for color and mild flavor. The mixture was stirred until creamy but still slightly textured, ensuring each bite had richness and a subtle bite. Soft white bread or sandwich rolls were used, sometimes lightly buttered, then spread with a generous layer of the egg salad. Some recipes suggested adding thin slices of lettuce or pickles for crunch. The sandwiches were cut into triangles or fingers, making them ideal for school lunches, picnics, or quick family snacks. This recipe required minimal time. Hard-boiled eggs could be prepared in advance, and no cooking beyond boiling the eggs. It was affordable, using ingredients available in most pantries, and highly adaptable. Deviled egg salad sandwiches delivered protein, fat, and flavor quickly, making them a reliable choice for busy households. They combined simplicity with satisfaction, demonstrating how ordinary ingredients could create a meal both practical and memorable in 10 minutes. Quick apple and oat crisp. Quick apple and oat crisp was a cherished mid-century dessert, perfect for families who wanted a warm, sweet treat in 10 minutes. Fresh or peeled canned apples were sliced thin and placed in a small baking dish. A simple topping of oats, brown sugar, and a bit of butter or margarine was crumbled evenly over the fruit. Sometimes a pinch of cinnamon or nutmeg was added for warmth and depth of flavor. The dish was baked or broiled just long enough for the butter to melt and the sugar to caramelize slightly, creating a golden, textured topping over tender apples. It required no complex preparation, no multiple bowls, and very little cooking time, making it ideal for last-minute desserts or after-school snacks. Cookbooks and homemaker guides from the 1950s through the 1970s praised this recipe for its speed, simplicity, and economical use of pantry staples. The combination of soft, sweet apples with the lightly crisped oat topping provided both comfort and satisfaction. Quick apple and oat crisp exemplified mid-century ingenuity, turning basic ingredients into a dessert that felt indulgent yet practical, serving as a warm, nostalgic favorite across countless American homes. Tuna salad on toast rounds. Tuna salad on toast rounds was a quick, reliable meal that appeared frequently in 1950s and 1960s cookbooks and homemaker magazines. Canned tuna, drained and flaked, was combined with mayonnaise, a touch of chopped onion, and a small amount of celery for crunch. A pinch of salt and pepper enhanced the flavor, while a dash of lemon juice or sweet pickle relish was sometimes added for brightness. Slices of white or whole wheat bread were toasted lightly and cut into circles or squares. The tuna mixture was spread generously on top, creating bite-sized rounds suitable for lunch, snacks, or small gatherings. Some homemakers garnished them with a sprinkle of paprika or a thin slice of hard-boiled egg, adding visual appeal and extra richness. This recipe required minimal preparation, no cooking beyond toasting, and could be assembled in under 10 minutes. It was inexpensive, practical, and filling, delivering protein and flavor in a compact form. Tuna salad on toast rounds exemplified the mid-century approach to quick meals. Simple, accessible, and satisfying. It allowed busy families to serve something fresh and appealing without elaborate effort, making it a reliable favorite across homes during the 1940s through the 1970s. These forgotten 10-minute recipes remind us that speed and simplicity did not mean sacrificing flavor or care. Each dish carried a story, a memory of families gathering around the table, of homemakers turning pantry staples into moments of comfort. From creamy spreads to clever shortcuts, These recipes offered nourishment, creativity, and a touch of joy in everyday life. They vanished from modern kitchens, yet their influence lingers in the way quick meals can still bring warmth and satisfaction. Remembering them is more than nostalgia. It is a celebration of ingenuity, resourcefulness, and the timeless magic of food prepared with heart.